It's been a while since actually I don't think we've ever done a solo interview with Tanuj. We had a very nice panel chat for Inside Edge a few years ago, and now here he is back in Rana Naidu season 2 that is going to
Yeah.
be screening on Netflix. And it's a really great pleasure to have you, Tanuj. So thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy. It's great to have you.
Well, firstly, the pleasure is all mine, Anuj. There's literally just one alphabet separating our names. So it's nice when Anuj and Tanuj have gotten together to do this. And, honestly, thanks for the introduction. Had so much fun making this new season of Rana Naidu. Was a massive fan of the first season. Karan and I go back a long way because we both started our journeys on the OTT space together, vis-a-vis Inside Edge through the three seasons. And I just keep pestering him and telling him, yeah, I really love this world you've created, this neo-modern, crazy, heightened reality sort of world that you have created for Rana Naidu. And I do see myself as a good fit. So if something comes up in your brilliant brain, then please be sure to remember me. And that's exactly what he did. And that's how I found my way into season two of Rana Naidu.
Right. Now, it's interesting though that you mention all this because I feel like OTT has definitely been your playground.
Yeah.
So tell me, what excites you the most about the long form of storytelling in today's day and age in the digital landscape? Because I feel a
Yeah.
major part of your career has been through the digital space.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So see, the thing is, the main difference that I see between films and OTT is that filmmaking is more of a director's medium, has an individual stamp of that particular creator. Whereas OTT, longer format storytelling, is more of a writer's medium. And I mean that in the best possible way because you may have an ensemble star cast like Pata, Lok, Sacred Games, Birsa, or even Inside Edge, Cartel for that matter, right? Where there may not be one protagonist or one main character, but you've got so many, and yet you learn so much, and each of them have a very well edged out character graph. So that's what makes it truly memorable for me to come back episode after episode, season after season. Because, like for example, Vayu Raghavan, the character that I essay on Inside Edge, is almost like my imaginary best friend. Because as I grew in my career, in my personal life, as I evolved as a person through all of my shared experiences in life, I was able to invest that into that character.
Hmm.
And that's a very very beautiful feeling and journey in it into itself. So I truly feel in like for example on Rana Naidu, I don't believe in overselling. I'm there on the show for a handful of scenes. I'm doing it because I love this world. I'm doing it because I really thought this was a very interesting and different character, Hatke character, compared to what I've done in the past. But he has a lot of his words, his actions affect the larger scheme of things, the macro picture that the creators are trying to say. And that is awesome. In OTT space, I mean, I'm sure you're a consumer of OTT content, so in a film you've got a 2 hour, 2.5 hour long movie, you've got an interval point, usually you've got three, four, five songs. So you, the structure is very different. OTT on the very same show, I'll tell you what, the shortest episode of Inside Edge was about 29 minutes long.
Hmm.
In the very same season, the longest episode was almost an hour long. You understand? Because
Hmm.
it needed to be short and it needed to be lengthy. And that's something you don't usually have the liberty to do in a movie. Tomorrow, if I make a feature film and it's like 65 minutes, people are going to be like, dude, what the hell? You've scammed us. We came here to watch a feature length film. You showed us a short film. You
Hmm.
don't have certain sort of leeways that you do, allowances, certain freedoms. So
Hmm.
OTT is truly, you've summed it up brilliantly. It is very much my playground.
Right. Now, I think it's very interesting because your mother, Rati Agnihotri, has worked in a lot of Telugu films,
Yeah.
in her in her early stages of her
Yes,
career.
yes, in a prime. Yeah. Yeah.
And here, obviously, you're working with what Venkatesh and Rana
Yes.
Daggubati, who are stalwarts of
Yes.
Telugu cinema. Um, I'm not sure if this just feels like a really full circle moment though for you because obviously, I mean, I've not looked at Rati Ma'am's like her career with the microscope, so I'm not able to gauge whether or not she's worked with Venkatesh, especially
Oh,
in
she has. Yes, yes, yes.
she has, right?
Yeah.
That must have been a very interesting familiar ground then for you
Yeah,
because
absolutely. I mean, I mean, in a way, you could say it was. I don't know about full circle because that would have to be my own journey, but definitely for my mom, it did feel kind of like a full circle moment
Oh.
when I broke the news to her that I'm in the current season. The first question she asked me, she's like, "Please tell me you have scenes with Venkatesh," and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of do." So she's like, "Yay!" She's like squealing like a little girl because she's very, very fond of him. And ironically, my very first day of shoot for Rana 2 was a scene with Venkatesh sir and myself, and it's a damn good scene. And I still remember he was in a lot of pain that day. He had a back niggle, and he very easily could have said, "Hey, listen, let's pick this up another time," or "I want a break," or "Let's delay shoot." None of that. He was a consummate professional from morning till evening till we had that scene in the bag, and it. As it is, respect him tremendously as an artist, but after seeing his work ethic and the way he conducts himself, my respect and regard for him has just manifested and gone up tenfold.
Hmm. Right. That's really great to hear, and I think it's really heartening to hear that reaction. Bless. Now let's talk a bit about Chirag Oberoi. So obviously, your characters usually, what I've found, even if they are in a bit of a negative space,
Sure.
um, there is that sense that they are led by their heart. Like even if I look at Vayu, for example, he's someone who's very impulsive, who's
Yeah.
also very like he's very fiery. He kind
Yeah.
of goes whatever वो दिल से सोचता है दिमाग से कम सोचता
जी
है.
जी बिल्कुल.
And
Bang on.
how to what extent would you say that has been I mean, why do you think these are characters that really resonate with you? And also, I think when it comes to your character in Rana season 2 as well, uh, what do you think has kind of been a very helpful asset for you to bring to the character?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take the first part of your question first. So I personally feel Rana Naidu offered me a very, very different take into familiar territory, right? Because as you rightly pointed out, I've played a lot of urban centric roles, चाहे वो कोडम में हो, पॉइजन में हो, definitely inside edge में हो. So you sometimes run the risk of अरे यार ये तनुष तो हर फिल्म में हर शो में same चीज कर रहा है. He's just repeating himself. He's just going through the motion. So that is a red flag for me. That's something I need to be very, very mindful of so that I add a new spin to familiar territory. Uh, that's what I've tried to do over here. And I also feel because as a person, my general nature, I mean, anyone who's close to me, who knows me well enough, knows that I'm largely government, I'm largely governed by matters of the heart. So I'm very,
Hmm.
uh, I would say Jasbadi, that would be more of a Vayu trait, but definitely I'm very instinctive. And sometimes if my gut tells me something, that even though logic may be defied, I
Hmm.
may take that leap of faith. Case in point being, everyone told me don't do inside edge. You have come to be a film actor, you want to be a star. What is this web series? What is OTT? What is it? Makes no sense. इससे अच्छा तो YouTube content ही बना ले. But something inside of me told me, hey, I think this could be the future. This could be something very, very interesting. And I took that leap of faith and it really ended up paying very, very rich dividends. So
Hmm.
I think because I'm a heart guy, I maybe it's not written on the page. I don't think so. I'm able to infuse that certain heart into those characters. Because if I am not able to identify with the characters, chahe wo positive, negative, gray characters, whatever, because I'm sure you're also aware that for a villain, in his eyes, he's not a villain. In his eyes, even the villain is a hero of his own story. So even
Hmm.
if I'm playing a negative character or a gray character, according to him, वो जो कुछ भी कह रहा है, जो कुछ भी कर रहा है, वो सही है. So you have to do that. The moment you start getting judgmental, यार ये ऐसे कैसे, how can he say this, how can he do this, then you will not be able to essay it properly. So I always infuse a lot of heart into every performance, and I'm really glad that you noticed that. Now coming to Rana Naidu, I'll pick up for where I left off earlier. Because it's an urban character, because I've played urban characters in the past, it was something which was definitely on my mind that I need to bring a different spin to it. And this guy is like Jasbadi to another level. He's a rich, spoiled, entitled brat who lives in his own little bubble, in his own little ivory tower, and is not in tune or in touch with reality. Okay, I'm none of those things. So that's where the acting came into question. I also, because I live in South Mumbai, so as they call it, the Sobo kids, I'm not saying all of them are like that, but many of them have similar traits to what this character does, where they're a little like, like how how you and me are conversing right now. We're speaking at a normal clip in a normal tone, right? they
Hmm.
have this permanent like drawl thing going on. वो थोड़े अलग किस्म के बंदे और बंदियाएं अलग टाइप से बात करते हैं. They're stretching words. They won't be like, oh man. They'll be like, oh man. Like, so everything is a little exaggerated, right?
It's almost like
And
the American version of
my
American.
spidey senses are always tingling कि यार मुझे इंस्पिरेशन मैं इंस्पिरेशन कहाँ से ढूंढूं. Where should I chura out this characteristic from? Because actors, artists are thieves. Yeah, you have to take from wherever you find inspiration, and then you make one bhurji pulao and you put it into the performance. So
Right.
I thought that was an interesting tonality to give this character. Of course, I have to run it by my directors and my showrunners and my writers and all, and of course we all sat together and they all felt okay, this is kind of where we want to go. So I've tried something different this time around, and let's see what you guys, judge, jury, executioners, the audience, at the end of the day, what you all have to say about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's interesting you say that. I think actors definitely are chameleons. They
Yeah,
know how to mold
we
themselves.
have to be. Yeah.
No, that's for sure. But Tanuj, it's interesting that you mentioned about these characteristics and stuff because the way I look at it, it's interesting because you began your film with a very easy breezy film called Love You Sonyo.
Yeah, yeah. A little rom-com, coming of age rom-com. Yeah.
Like a coming of age rom-com. Then you also had a similar film that came up called Purani Jeans as well,
Yeah.
theatrically.
Purani Jeet was more about like friendship and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's interesting. Then obviously later on in your career, you did a film called One Night Stand,
Yes.
which obviously the songs were great in that film. I still listen to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
songs
Ijazat.
even now.
Correct, correct.
Ijazat is lovely. Now, obviously, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the contents that you have been a part of, I feel like there's been a lot of like sex involved in the characters that you've been a part of. Right now, I mean, what I'm interested to know is that I feel for you as an artist. I'm sure, like I'm sure you never aspired to end up doing the roles that you have done. Like for example, these
Okay. Yeah.
kind of spoiled characters, number one, or number two, these Jazbati type characters, or number three, with the whole sort of explicit strand that it has, where he's almost a loose cannon when it comes to
Yeah.
intimacy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Why do you think? I mean, it's a bit of a bit of a hypothetical question, really, but why do you think this is the sort of journey that's paved out for you as an artist? And do you have any regrets at all?
No, no. Firstly, I don't have any regrets. I'll tell you what. It's not just my journey specifically. I feel the kind of cinema that we grew up watching, maybe in the 90s and early 2000s, is very, very far removed from the kind of content that's out there. I think society as a whole, because see, at the end of the day, film, cinema, art, OTT are a reflection of the times that we live in.
Hmm.
And India as a country has become a lot more open, has become a lot more outspoken. And I just feel as a result of that, uh, creators have become bolder because with the advent of the OTT platforms, you obviously uh, have different rules as far as censorship is concerned and all. And also, if I'm being absolutely honest, and I have been in many a room when these conversations have taken place. Certain makers who probably are not very confident of their product or think they need an additional boost, think that if they resort to some extra galis or some intimate scenes, explicit scenes, it might actually garner more eyeballs.
Yeah,
And that is something that I've personally grown to be not cool with at all, because I feel that anything that happens in a film or on an OTT show from start to end must be in service of the character and in service of the story and in service of that world and everything that exists within it. If the external reasons like, oh, आजकल गाली गलौज चल रहा है तो इसमें तीन चार और माँ बहन की गाली दे दो,
mm,
drop some two three more F bombs, I'm not fine with it.
yeah,
If hey, if we have like a lesbian scene or if we have an intimate scene or a threesome, I think we'll get better viewership. I'm not fine with it. Why? Because it's not servicing the story.
exactly.
It is
Mm.
it is simply there for titillation. So if
Exactly.
you've observed especially in the last, I would say in the last 3 years or so, I have made a very conscious effort to move away from that. I don't want that image. I don't want, uh, people thinking, oh, he's doing. Uh, See, you do morally ambiguous roles. That's completely different. But I don't want to do explicit scenes for the heck of it. You understand? Early on in your career, of course, there's a lot more pressure because many a times you're not really asked, you're just told. But as you start to have some street credit and your word carries some weight, you do have a say. And at the end of the day, if I'm not comfortable doing something which I don't believe in, I won't do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I think that's where it is. But I do know that a lot of it is done largely not to service the story, but to just grab more eyeballs, which is sad.
What I believe is that even titillation and even representing such things also has grace in them. I feel like you have to have grace in the way you present it.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I just feel like what's happened was, I mean what I have noticed as well, there's gradual change actually, because I remember the first Inside Edge was wild. The second one was absolutely
But
wild.
but but
Then
you know what? Any no, but see, anything that I've done on Inside Edge now, I completely stand by because I don't think any of that was there to titillate the audience. Excel and Amazon are too classy to
very
stoop
true.
to that level. I just feel if you're especially referring to the opening scene of the first Inside Edge with the cheerleader, that was the character. That was who Vayu Raghavan was at that particular point. He literally gives two hoots about anything or anyone. And because he was also kind of addicted to the white stuff, uh, that's just where he was. And that's why I had so much fun portraying that character because when you see him evolve, then he has a breakup with Sarah Jane Dias's character. Then he meets Mantra and he woos her in the second season. Then they start dating in the third season. So you can actually see that graph from being this bad boy who he may be morally ambiguous, but he definitely has his heart in the right place. How he becomes from a boy into a man. For me, actually, one of the standout sequences of Inside would be that scene with Vayu and Mantra, season two, where they're swimming and he's really not in the zone. And then she gives him a really nice pep talk and he goes out and he makes a century and he wins the match for his team. Because I feel like in sport, just like in life, there's certain red letter moments and instances and incidents which can either make or break you as a person, as a personality, as a sportsman. And that's what happened over there. So that's why when I think I find long format storytelling very interesting, is because at different junctures of his life, when thrown into different scenarios and challenges, how does a person rise or
Hmm.
drown or, prove to be triumphant, which he did. Yeah.
No, true. And what I was going to actually say is the fact that it wasn't. No, you're right. Exactly. I mean, Amazon and obviously Excel are phenomenal and they're and class apart when it comes to their story.
Yes.
But what I was going to say is that then gradually it becomes lesser, like as the seasons progress.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
felt like it almost felt like when the floodgates had opened for
Yeah.
India on the digital platform, it was like, oh my God, we can be as bold as we want to be. And then suddenly people then realize, actually,
you
no,
know,
what
I
we
mean,
yeah.
I don't want to be too explicit and call out people or like certain projects that I've been part of. But I mean, if you're smart enough, you'll understand what I'm talking about. There have been times when I've said no, that I
Mm,
don't want to do this intimate scene,
okay.
and they said okay, fair. And then I watched the show, and they've gotten someone in some because there's so many different tracks on web series. Some other track may someone to do a rather titillating scene. So that's equally pissing off to me, right? Because it is my show at the end of the day. And as an audience, it doesn't matter whether I'm featuring in a scene or not, it's still part of my show. You know, here I'm out promoting shows saying, hey, listen, this show you can watch with your family, and it doesn't have this, that, that. And then you watch the show, and rubbish has just been shoehorned into the screenplay. So I do feel in the last year or so things are changing.
Yeah.
I also feel at the end of the day, because there have been so many different OTT platforms and quantity took precedence over quality. You see that changing now, which is why there's so many mergers, so many acquisitions happening within the Indian OTT space because it's going to be survival of the fittest. There are only 24 hours in a day, and there's so many different means of entertainment for the Indian public. You've got television, you've got films, you've got reality television, you've got sports, you've got theater, you've got OTT. Within OTT, you've got so many different, subgenres and stuff and all that. So it has to be only the best survive. We have to breed excellence. We can't just settle for mediocrity. You
Hmm.
know,
True.
you'd rather go off in a flame than just like wither away and just drift into oblivion. So the same thing must also apply to the kind of content that we create.
Rightly said. And I think the reason why I'm asking these questions, because I feel like it also correlates with Rana Naidu.
Yeah,
Because obviously season one, it kind of shocked. Like it did shock a lot of people, and
yeah,
especially the Telugu audiences. Because look,
yeah. Oh
um,
God, yes, yes.
because obviously, see, from what I've understood, especially when it comes, because I remember speaking to actually a few Telugu
Yeah,
people actually whilst, and obviously Rana has this very like he's macho and he's a very good looking man, of course, but
yeah,
he's known for playing these very like family oriented kind of roles in the
yes,
Telugu
yes,
space.
yes.
Then when he did a role like this, which was a lot more explicit and a lot more like adult certificate,
And same goes for Venkatesh, sir.
and same for Venkatesh sir as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know,
Um, yeah,
it's really funny, Anuj, that you say this to me because just this morning I was on a phone call with my mom's best friend. She lives in Chennai,
yeah.
and so she's like, "So what's happening?" I said, "Nothing. I'm just busy promoting." So she said, "Oh, what?" I'm like, "I'm Rana Naidu too," and she's like, "Oh God, is it going to be explicit again? We can't handle this, huh, in the South." She literally said that to me. All right. And I laughed it off. But when I kept the phone, I thought about it. And I'm like, that's what happens. When you create a certain image, you are expected to live up to that image and be in service of that image. And sometimes you even become a slave to that image.
Hmm.
OTT, for that matter, is a very, very disruptive medium. It wants to take that image and smash it like a 2,000 pound gorilla. And that's what is exciting.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why I think it really correlates well. But then I
Yeah.
want to speak more about your career though, because I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. Because I feel like,
Please.
for debuts, especially when you are someone who is so closely linked or related to
Yeah.
obviously like your mom with the legacy that she's had in her career.
Yeah.
And I still have the DVD of Ek Duje Ke Liye, and I literally cry. Like, I
Oh,
can
wow. Yeah.
tell you, like, it's interesting because when we see films like Dhadak in today's day and age, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like, when you trace back the tragic endings of lovers,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
my God, it's just
Absolutely.
incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think for you, I feel like positioning is something in this industry. Like I think
Sure.
once जब आपके ऊपर एक छाप पड़ जाती है, तो फिर वो छाप
G.
पड़ ही जाती है, and it takes
G. G.
a long time to shrug it off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, do you feel like in a way there has been it's been difficult for you to really rise beyond any stereotypes or any kind of bracketing at all?
See, stereotyping is very, very rampant in our industry, and I feel it is our responsibility as artists to make sure that sometimes we take the less popular route, and that's something that I have constantly tried doing. I'll give you an example. In 2017, the first season of Inside Edge came out. After that, the kind of roles that were offered to me were literally a carbon copy of that character. A
Hmm.
Yash, bad boy, but with a good heart. And I knew at that point that we were going to do not just two, but season three of Inside as well. And I'm like, dude, if I just sell out right now and I just do it for the money and just because for the sake of working, there's going to be zero impact when season two and season three of Inside Edge come because the audience will be like, "Ha, theek hai. So we've seen the same character. Now why should we watch Inside Edge again? He's doing the same work. He's a one-trick pony."
Hmm.
So that's why I tried following it up with Poison, which was a revenge saga. Then I did Codem, where I play a lawyer. Then I did Cartel, where I play a gangster. I did Kamati Pura, in which I was a different sort of gangster. You understand?
Hmm.
Uh, I did Murder Mary Jaan, where again you're playing an ACP, but it's kind of like a parody. It's a comic spin on everything. So I kept trying to mix things up because it's my greatest fear as an artist. My two greatest fears. One, that the phone stops ringing. And second is that I get stereotyped. These are my two greatest
Hmm.
fears. Yani ki I don't want to ever put myself in a position. So obviously I can't uh, control the macroeconomics of the market and the bigger things. There's so many different factors at play. But on a much smaller level, I know what I can control, and that is my choice. And that is what I keep trying to do. And as far as I've never looked at it as I'm living in my mom's shadow for the simple reason that मैं थोड़ा बच गया nepotism वाले डिबेट से, and I'll explain to you why.
Hmm.
My mom's on-screen name is Rati Agnihotri. Mine is, of course, Tanuj Virwani. It has taken people forever, and I've done everything in my capacity to ensure that they don't know we're related because मैं थोड़ा खुदगर्ज हूँ, and I'm someone who wants to make it on his own terms and not have anyone turn around and be like, oh, he made it because he's related to so and so. I believe the audience will come and watch you for the first time, be it on the small screen or in the cinema, because of your last name. But if you expect them to stay and you expect them to be by your side for the majority of your career and you want to be, जैसे बोलते लंबी रेस का घोड़ा, then you have to make sure that your first name lands as well. Ranbir Kapoor, prime example, right? Blue blood, third generation Kapoor family. They write, they direct, they're actors. They're not just actors, they're stars, they're superstars.
Hmm.
But today, he is known not as Rishi Kapoor's son or Raj Kapoor's grandson. He is known as his own entity because he has made sure time and time and time over and over again to prove himself.
True.
So if at such a high level, that man has that foresight and make sure that he keeps on. A guy, you can do a Barfi and a Rockstar in the same year, follow that up with a Tamasha, do an Animal, do a Brahmastra, do so many of do a Rajniti so early on in his career, do a Wake Up Sit coming of age movie where it was so different, do Rocket Singh as his second film. These are these are like he has done everything in his capacity to not get enclosed in the trappings of being a star.
Yeah.
Same with Ranveer. You do a Padmavat, then you follow it up with a Gully Boy. Then you do a mass entertainer like a Simba. You do an 83. You see the range. So the
Yeah.
most important thing for any artist is that you need to consider yourself as an artist, as an actor first. Star आप बन जाओगे जब लोग आपको बनाएंगे. That's a different thing. But too many people today want to be the next big thing, want to be the next Hrithik Roshan, next Shah Rukh Khan, next Ranbir Kapoor. Doesn't work like that. Be the first you, but be the best version of you. And that only happens if you are willing to fail. Because see, tell you, you will fall flat on your face a few times. You
Hmm.
will fail. But you will rise then, na?
Hmm.
If I just come and give you success on a platter, you will not be able to value it. So many people who have started with an absolute smash hit or with a bang end up in a whimper because they don't value the success, because they haven't seen the hard times. And that there's no substitute to failure. There's no substitute to the experience that failure gives you, because failure teaches you far more than success ever will.
Hmm.
It stands true for any and every walk of life, but most certainly as an artist.
Hmm.
I've been at my most desperate, I've been at my hungriest when I've been failing. I had 3 flop films as a lead hero before Inside Edge happened. It was do or die. That fear drove me to creating that character. I was shit scared on that set, season one, because I knew that one more flop and I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm finished. My career would have crash landed even before it took off.
Hmm.
So I think these are the things that one has to look at. So I don't really think whose shadow I'm living in. I'm here to create my own niche, my own mark. And also, it's a very apples to oranges comparison, because see, if maybe my father was an actor or a star, it's a different thing. It's a lot more easy to compare that way. But because she's an actress and I'm male, I don't really get those comparisons. And today, whatever work I'm getting, चाहे वो audition देकर हो, चाहे वो meetings लेकर हो, या चाहे मेरे खुद के बलबूते पे, it's happening on my terms. It's not happening because I'm XYZ son.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Beautiful. No, very, very lovely. Well said.
yeah,
Talk to me a bit about the failure part, though. I really would like to understand because look, I think when you're in a do or die situation,
yeah,
it's difficult because
yeah,
anxiety इतनी होती है ना और इतनी
absolutely.
बेकाबू होती है. We can't even imagine. No matter how much cushion you have, it still isn't.
100%, 100%.
How did you deal and cope with it at that
You
point?
know, see, also it was a very different time in my life. There were certain um, things happening in my personal life at home and stuff. So obviously, that affects you a lot as well. On top of it, at 24, 25, you're at a very impressionable age and also very vulnerable age, because there's so much you want to express and prove to the world, because you think you're deserving of it. But I wasn't deserving of it, because I think I entered the industry completely, absolutely undercooked and ill prepared. I only viewed it from like the way an outsider would, which is wrong considering my mom's part of the business. I did not view it as uh, the amount of blood, sweat, tears, insecurities, failures that goes into creating art.
Hmm.
It's actually a very lonely job. It looks very amazing and stuff from the outside. It's very lonely, right? I mean, you're living like a nomad. You become friendly, and your workers and your colleagues and everyone becomes like family for the duration of the shoot, and then that project's done, and then everyone goes their own way, and then you
Hmm.
find your next gig and your next family. So it's a very nomadic profession. I could be on
Yes.
set with 200 people, but eventually I have to go back to my van where I'm literally all by myself. So you have to first be mentally very strong. You can't allow yourself to be bogged down by failure. You have to just keep reminding yourself that's something I did then, that's something I do now, that this is not permanent. Neither is success permanent, neither is failure permanent. What goes up will come down. That is the law of the universe. That is gravity, my friend. It's as simple as that. So that's what I've always told myself. Even now, that there are times when the chips are down, you work, and then the projects come out and they fizzle out, and you're like, oh, but I gave it my best. Yeah, but you never know what that leads to. Sometimes, some way, someone might see something very special or extraordinary, even in your most ordinary work. A
Hmm.
moment. a glimmer, a spark. You never know. Okay, so that's what I always tell myself. Just go, do your work, put your head down, focus on the process, give every take like it's your last take. It's do or die. It's not just do or die that time, it's do or die even now. Because the amount of competition and hungry competition there is right when over your shoulder is insurmountable.
Hmm.
And if you miss even one step, oh, you're off the board and back in the box. So you have to ensure that you bring your A game if you think you deserve being here.
Hmm.
Or else just do a normal job, not do a corporate job, do a 9 to 5 job. Okay, no one's going to say anything. But if you're here, it can't just be because you want to become rich and famous. That's the end. That's the means to an end. That's the gravy.
And
The
even then,
number
it doesn't
number
really
one to
end
number
there.
10 reason has to be you're an artist.
Hmm.
You're an artist. An artist doesn't paint a picture so it sells for £1 million.
Right. And the thing is, it doesn't even end there though. Like even once you
It
get
never
that
ends.
thing, it's
People
like then
talk
it's
about
sustainable.
struggle. Firstly, I hate this word strugglers. I don't understand. The up and coming artists, everyone struggles. Are
Yeah.
you trying to tell me that when Shah Rukh Khan, the biggest megastar that our industry has seen, had back to back failures, one after the other, wasn't he struggling at his level? The man's taken a 4.5 year sabbatical, reinvented himself, and come back with Pathan and Jawan and Donkey, right? So if at that level there's struggle, then who on earth are we?
Hmm.
Without struggle, there is no fun because that's just the way it is. They often say, no, I mean, sometimes you have to have your heart broken in this industry, so you start using your head. And when your heart breaks, you have to take your broken heart and turn it into art because you are at your most lethal when you are grieving. Because all those emotions are right on the surface. I'll see when you're content and you're satiated in life and everything's going okay, you're kind of casual. But when you know, oh my God, my life, my career, my hopes and aspirations are hanging and dangling by a tiny little thread, that's when you're at your most lethal. I truly believe that.
Actually, very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Wow.
Yes.
No, uh, again, very wonderfully said. Um, it's interesting though, because your mom obviously has seen these different phases of
Yeah. Yeah.
her
Yeah.
career. So, and obviously she was still obviously like she was like I mean obviously she's a very well-known actress, like I mean the works, I mean obviously see as a 90s kid growing up, like obviously I watched her in films like Hum Tum which obviously
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
wouldn't obviously be like, I mean it's a very powerful role, of course it is, because
Sure. Sure.
single mother, and I mean it was a very
Yes. Yes. Yes.
impactful character. But when we look back at like the films like Ek Duje Ke Liye, which really gave her more prominence, um
Absolutely.
it's interesting because she's also had the downside too. Do you think that wisdom of hers, that kind of exposure that she's gone through, has kind of in a way been a good map for you in terms of navigating things emotionally and mentally as well?
I don't know. I mean, because see, the thing is, everyone's got a different journey to chart through life, and those are her experiences. And to be honest, many of those experiences happened before I was born and or when I was very young, right? So whatever she talks to me and she discusses and stuff and all that is based on her experiences and her response to whatever was going on. I feel you have to go through that trial by fire on your own because till you don't fall on your face a few times, and I'm really happy and grateful in hindsight that it happened very early on in my career because otherwise it's so easy, man. When everyone, as they say, everyone prays for a rising sun. If everyone's just doing wah wah and shabashi dere and all that, you will never value anything. So I feel I've learned to some extent from whatever mom talks to me about her experiences, but I most certainly have learned a lot more uh, from all the failures and all the ups and downs and trials and tribulations that I have faced in the. I recently completed about 12 years in this industry, so in over the past like 12 years, yeah,
Hmm. And
yeah,
I think it's really wonderful, Tanuj, that you've done that, and I think you've definitely grown a lot as an artist.
yeah,
I think where are things now for you in terms of your mind space as an actor? Uh,
yeah.
Obviously you've got Rana Naidu season 2 coming up, but uske alawa, what else are you hopeful for, and what else can we?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty happy. See, I'm always hungry, so I'm never going to be like over the moon because I'm always greedy. I always want more, 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 like any artist should have, right? I mean, till you once that fire in the belly and that greed is gone, you're just going to dial it in. And I never want to. The day I think I'm dialing it in, I would rather not act. It's
Right.
as simple as that. because
Hmm.
it's an expression. I don't want to look back at my body of work and be like, अरे यार इस वाले project में दिल नहीं था या इस वाले project मैंने पैसों के लिए किए. I don't want to be that. Of course, it does happen from time to time. There's so many times when you grumble, अरे यार इतना काम कर रहा, अरे I'm burning out, this that. It's at moments like that I remind myself, hey, listen, buddy, do you remember when the phone wasn't ringing and you just sat at home for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, and wondering what the hell is happening, where your life is headed? Stop grumbling. You're blessed. Every single day, every single scene, every single take that you have the opportunity to do, to create in front of so many people on set and so many people watching at home and in the cinemas is a blessing. And any blessing that you don't pay heed to eventually turns into a curse. So do not take anything for granted. I don't take this moment for granted. I don't take this conversation for granted.
Hmm.
I must have done something good, which is why you wanted to
Oh,
have this chat with me, right? It's
likewise.
as simple as that. So I just feel it's very very important to uh, look at the larger picture, the broader picture, because sometimes when we are in that eye of the storm, you don't really have perspective. When you take a couple of steps back, is when you start getting perspective. And a life led without perspective is not a life led, and you're just existing. So that's just something that I often tell myself. So yeah, I have some interesting projects coming up. As always, I'm trying to do some diverse roles. I've got a rom com coming up in the shape of a movie called Puppy Love. We shot that extensively in London, in the UK. It's got Trida Chaudhary, who was recently seen in Ashram 3. It's got Divya Agarwal and Nikki Tamboli. I've got a cop based drama coming called DAU, Domestic Anti Terrorism Unit. It co stars Rahul Dev. It's a very gritty Mumbai
Wow.
set crime saga, playing an ACP, Assistant Commissioner of Police on that. Of course, we have Rana coming, and I've got this other film which I'm very, very gung ho about called Johnny Jumper, where I play a cable wala from Bhopal who's also an undercover operator for the local law enforcement over there. And one day,
Interesting.
because of a series of unfortunate events, there's someone is kidnapped, and he becomes the prime suspect. So
Wow.
just trying to do different stuff. It's very Guy Ritchie-esque, and I'm really excited about that. We'll talk about that more when it's time for it to release. But so the hope and aspiration is always to do different work and not be a sellout, man. Yeah.
Hmm. A
And of
sen-
course, we've got Splitsvilla, which is a whole different beast in itself, man. That happened out of nowhere. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like you've got like Inside Edge, you've got like Rana Naidu and all these things, then you've
Yeah.
got Fitz Villa. I mean, gosh, what a
Yeah.
mix. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
complete
Yeah.
mix, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. As I like to call myself, I think at this juncture in my career, because I did Yoda, so I've got films. I'm doing web series, which is my bread and butter, and of course now I'm hosting as well. So I think I'm like a jack of all trades. So
Hmm.
hopefully, God willing, inshallah, in time, I shall become a master of at least one of these.
I think it will happen. And I think, as they say, slow and steady wins the race, right?
एब्सोल्युटली अगर अगर आप चाहते हो कि आप लंबी रेस के घोड़े बनो, तो ये बहुत मायने रखती है दैट यू as long as see, even if the slope is gradual, as long as it's on the ascent, it's going in the upward direction, I'm fine.
Exactly. No,
You
100%.
know,
Yeah,
yeah, as they say, come easy, go easy.
absolutely. Very, very well said.
Yeah,
Well, look, Tanuj, it's been such a lovely, lovely conversation. Thank you so
likewise, brother.
much for joining me on Filmy Shilmy. Really, I mean, I have cherished every moment. And I think it's really special that you've got Rana Naidu season 2 coming up on Netflix.
Yes, yes, as have I. Please do tune in. It's going to be streaming or exclusively on Netflix from the 13th of June.
Yeah,
Check it out. Not just for me. I mean, we've all put in a lot of hard work, and I'm very cautiously optimistic to see how all you guys respond to the material this time.
definitely. Really looking forward to it, and we definitely must catch up again soon.
Absolutely. We most surely will.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you very, very much.